the highlight of the winter update 2025 and one of the best team hunt spawns, the Unhallowed Crypt. This spawn is part of the Roost of the Greyborn quest, which introduces 3 spawns, 2 for team hunting and 1 for solo hunts. However, it also comes with a paid entry for access. Each time you enter the solo or the Unhallowed Crypt, a charge will be consumed. You get the charges by completing the quest or using the respective access items, in this case the cryptic fossils. Unfortunately, due to this, the access to the spawn is quite limited, as the main source for the fossils is through hunting the solo area, which at the same time requires high levels to hunt it. Optionally, you also receive a fossil per boss kill on the first time you do them, which also provides a few fossils if your server has an active player base, but in reality, for most servers that's not the case, and your best way to get them will be through finishing the quest by defeating the Bone Overlord. Then you will receive 10 charges and an item to use every 14 days for another one. Sadly, that is the state of this spawn as of the making of this video. Hopefully at some point the access will get lowered, and when that happens, here is what you need to know about the spawn. First, the damage done is death followed by physical and energy to the EK, and death followed by energy to the shooters. They are weakly to mainly fire and earth, benefiting both mages nicely. Also, the creatures here are of the challenging category, which means you need 5000 kills to unlock bestiary, but the density of the spawn is quite high and is easy to unlock. However, it can be difficult to hunt. I will be recommending it for level 1200s. I think it's comfortable enough at that level, but lower levels can come here by adjusting the pulls. Keep in mind the way we hunt it is quite fast and with massive lures, which is dangerous but rewarding. With that said, if you want to hunt here, first off, the main difficulty of the spawn is that creepy crawlers have a chain attack that applies fear. If you're not used to hunting on spawns with fear, that will be the biggest obstacle. Additionally, because it is a chain spell, it will be bouncing off the EK or RP often, resulting in fears on the mage when playing it safe, so keep that in mind. I recommend to bring out flowers and place them in the corners. Creatures will move some of them, but most of the times they stay in place and help people not get trapped or run too far. You will see the flower placements in the lab section, but in general, EK needs to be standing on bombs for all the pulls or stay in place. I play with map clicking, and for that, energy bombs work best, since they only last one lap, but fire bombs last longer and you will need to place less. Mages need to get comfortable with getting fear. Note that you can cast UH on self to heal while fear and can use magic shield potions if absolutely necessary, but for the most part, fear tends to lead you far and fast away from the pool and is not as dangerous for the person getting fear unless you get trapped, which is where the flowers come into place, as well as using magic walls to keep creatures from trapping you. Paladins unfortunately are the weakest vocation to fears due to only being able to use ultimate spirits or directly going into foods, so communication is important to ask for help beforehand. Besides that, the Creep construct have a rare AoE heal spell, which pretty much heals creatures to full when casted, so every now and then pulls will heal and keep you in place longer, lowering the experience and feeling more difficult. It's not too often, but at least a few times per hour. For wheels, I recommend to go with Grand Echo buffs on EK. This is a bad spell everywhere else, but here if you go with buffs towards it, you can cast it when the druid gets fear, and this helps with not over relying on foods. For paladins, you want to build around being able to grenade every pull. This is depending on the speed your team is running, and you will need to put more or less points to it. Once you can have it consistently every pull, then put points in the empowerment, but it's also highly recommended to unlock Gift of Life. This is due to being very vulnerable when fear. It will come in handy. Druids can build around Terra Wave and Twin Burst. We found damage-oriented builds work best in this spawn, but depending on the way your team hunts, you might want Runic Mastery. Sorcerers should go with buffs to Fire Wave with the perk and gems if available. Secondary will be buffs to Fire AoE, and even though the creatures are resistant to energy, you can try to upgrade the perks to increase size if your team is sideboxing with the RP. Monks are pretty weak on this spawn given the density of the pulls, so go with whatever is your best build. Now getting into the lab, take the right portal. This will consume the charge and take you into the spawn. If you leave and enter again, it will consume another charge. However, you can AFK at the entrance if you lure creatures away, so it's safe to take a break on the hunt. This is where I place the first set of flowers to stop people from running too far north. The first pull is to the south, and on the first lap we do that simple to start the boost. After this, the entire hunt consists of Paladin dragging the remaining creatures to the next. We go left and do the lap counterclockwise. I recommend this over going to the right. We used to do clockwise at the first couple days, but the pulls on the east are harder when going in that direction compared to the opposite. Also, as you will see, our paladin does the lures from the back and the sorcerer goes ahead and lures even more. Taking this roll away from the EMS will lower the difficulty by a lot, but I do recommend to try and keep the RPE lure in the back. This is the most reliable way to make higher experience. Additionally, we go into the middle as a way to deal with overkill, which is fairly easy to achieve. For that reason, the spawn has a cap experience of around the 23kk raw post nerf. At least that was in our server with the low player base. More popular servers with faster respawn rate could result in a little bit higher cap experience, but at the start, before we needed that, it was enough to continue south and do a simple lap in a circle around the cave. On this pool in the southwest, I find this L shape with the flowers to be one of the most reliable. It hardly gets broken by creatures but does stop players often. And the one to the left is not great, but players do get feared there often. Continue the path to the right, and this is one of the lures the EMS does that hardly brings any creature, but when it comes to being close to overkill, any extra creatures help with that. The pool on the southeast is one of the most dangerous even for our team, since this little corner has enough creatures for another pool, and we have the MS just pick slightly into it and still bring a bunch from that, but whenever somebody gets fear in that direction, we end up with a massive pool. Also, because fears can take you away to the north, it gets scary for everyone. Here you can see how the flowers are not covering a corner but rather making a bit of a gap. That is so that if you get fear into it, you will stand there and usually don't get trapped. This is to avoid the scenario of going too far away. So flowers can serve the purpose of stopping you from getting trapped or stopping from running away. Because these two pools are quite dense on their own and also close to each other, is why I said at the start that if coming from the north doing clockwise, it ends up feeling much more dangerous. At least that was the case for our team. After this, you will be back to the entrance and just repeat the lap. This recording was one of our last hunts in here after the most recent nerf, and our experience was between the 21 to 22kk raw, with full soul cores and charms. From the 24 to 25 it was before the nerf. We can't get it higher than that because of overkill. And on our very first hunt, to test the spawn early on, we got the experience to 17kk. Given the nerfs, that would have been around the 15kk. With that said, I expect a team of 1200s to get over 16kk raw with charms and soul cores. Share in the comments if you have hunted here recently and the numbers you were making. The spawn might be hard to access, but at least with its current experience, it sees as one of the best spawns. With that said, that's all I got for this one. Thank you for watching and hope you come again.